Alright, what's going on today, YouTube? Welcome back to your favorite cyclist YouTube channel. This week, we got the BMX bike. We're continuing on with our maintenance here. But before we get into today's video, if you're new to my channel, make sure you head down below, hit that subscribe button for me. If you already are subscribed, make sure you hit that bell icon right next to that. That way you get notified every time I upload. That way you don't miss any of this awesome cycling content on this channel. So like I said, we got the BMX bike here. So if you watched the last video I had where we kind of working on the BMX bike, we kind of mentioned how when we initially got this working, we pretty much just got at the point where it worked and fixed things that were immediately broken. However, we didn't do any maintenance to this thing at all. We didn't grease really anything other than stuff that we replaced. So bottom bracket, obviously, the seat post we greased, but we didn't touch any of the other bearings, nothing. And now here we are, winter time. I figure it's time we start kind of fixing those and get those all nice and in good condition. So last time we went ahead and we did the whole headset, re-greased all that, showed you guys how to service a headset on a pretty simple bike, pretty much a threadless headset bike. Relatively pretty simple. Today what we're looking at is actually the hub bearings, the wheel hub bearings. We gotta take a look at those, we gotta pull those apart, see what kind of condition those are in. The front wheel I'm not all that concerned about. The front wheel actually feels pretty good, it's not loose or anything like that. It's really just seeing what condition those are in and then applying new grease, pretty much what we're gonna do in the front. The rear is where things might get kind of interesting. The rear hub is actually loose. Just a hair. Just a hair. You can actually grab the wheel and it will move back and forth and rock back and forth. And that gets me a little bit nervous about what I'm going to find back here, but we're going to take this apart. And the rear is going to be different than the front, and that's pretty much on any bike. The rear is going to be different than the front. So we're going to show you guys both. So we're going to do both of these. So first thing I gotta do is, of course, get the wheels off of the bike. So pretty much for this, you just need some basic wrenches, open-end wrenches preferably, a little bit easier to use. And then you're gonna need some cone wrenches. And I will show you the tools I use myself. But let's get these wheels off. Let's get over to the bench over here. Let's start tearing wheel bearings out. All right, so I got the wheels off. So once you have the wheels off, you gotta go ahead and take off the nuts on here. If you have a quick release wheel, take off the quick release skewer. Same kind of deal. This is gonna be the same process for quick release or bolt-on axles. So, pull off our wheel nuts here and any kind of spacers that are behind them. Set those off to the side there. So, then what you got here, you can kind of see there is a nut right here. And then on the inside, there is a nut with kind of two flats back there. So, before we even get to that, how are you going to know if your hub bearing needs to be re-greased or taken a look at? So, first thing would be if you can grab both sides or grab the wheel when it's in the bike, and you can move this axle. And you can move the wheel, and there's movement in the wheel side to side. That's going to be meaning something's loose down here in the hub. Another thing is going to be if you take this off and you start to move it, you can move it and it should feel nice and smooth all the way through. In this case, this one actually feels a little chunky. And you can feel like it finds little spots to snag on as you lightly turn it. That means something's going on in here. Probably needs some grease or something else is going on. And now that this is off, it doesn't feel as smooth as it did on the bike. So, what we gotta do, we gotta take these nuts off. Now, a regular wrench here is gonna work fine for your outside one. However, these ones on the inside, they are far too thin for a regular wrench to get on. So, what you're gonna need is a set of cone wrenches, or a cone wrench that's gonna be the right size. In this case, these are from Horace D. These are actually from TikTok Shop. I love these things. These are really good. These come with a full set of cone wrenches. Super thin wrenches that can fit what you need to, and then from here you can kind of grab which one you need. So in this case, I think it's a 15. Bingo, 13. So in this case, we have a 13 millimeter on the inside cone, and then we have a 17 millimeter on the outside. So what you're trying to do here is you're going to pretty much loosen up this outside. So you're trying to hold this one where it is, and you're trying to loosen this outside nut here. There you go. Sometimes they're going to be much tighter than other ones. So once you have that loosened, we can just loosen one side. In this case, you only need to take off one side of these. You don't need to touch both sides. You can take off one and put it all back together with that. So take off that guy, and then inside is your cone right here. In this case, this cone is kind of stuck on here. Let's see if we can get that to loosen up a little bit. There we go. All right. So when we do this, we want to do it kind of like this here, because what's going to happen is you're going to take off this cone nut here, and the axle will fall out, and there are bearings on both sides of your hub. So holding it like this is holding the bearings on the back side in. So unscrew this all the way. Thankfully, these bearings are in cages. Other bikes are going to be loose ball bearing. It just depends. And some are sealed bearings, but most quick release and bolt-on axles are going to be some sort of open ball bearing, either in a cage or completely open. There it goes. I'm going to set that off to the side, and then we should be able to pull our whole axle out. So we can kind of push our bearings out. So you can see there was a bearing cage. There's one of our bearing cages right there. Kind of set that down, and we should be able to pull our axle all the way out. And there's our other bearing cage right there on this side. So we can dump both of those off. And then there's your axle right there. Pretty simple. You can actually see how it works kind of on there. So you have your one outer nut, your lock nut, and then the cone nut. The cone nut's pretty much what's holding your bearings in place and presetting that preload on there. So pretty much what we need to do, we need to clean off this cone nut here, both sides. Clean off our axle a little bit, get that kind of clean. And then clean off inside of here and make sure it's nice and smooth inside of there. And then we'll go ahead and clean up our bearings as well. Get those nice and clean. Then once those are clean, we'll come back and we'll start throwing some grease in here and reassembling this thing. All right, so we're gonna use our favorite simple green right here. Get our bearings on this paper towel here. We're just gonna spray them down and let that kind of soak in a little bit. Flip them over. Kind of let that degreaser soak in. Get them looking a little bit better. While those are doing that, we're gonna get a separate paper towel here. Just gonna spray that with some simple green, and then we're gonna go ahead and wipe down our cone races here. Make sure these are nice and clean and smooth. Then we'll get our wheel here, and we gotta clean inside where the bearings sit. Same deal. There we go. And then same kind of deal, we just wanna make sure we get our finger, run our finger around, make sure it is nice and smooth where the bearings are gonna sit. That way they can roll nice and smoothly. You don't have junk in there, no gouges, nicks, anything like that. So I should have someone right there. What is that? So we'll get back to this in a second. Let's get these bearings cleaned up, and then we'll go take a look and see what we can make happen with that guy. They're looking pretty good. We just gotta make sure all the bearings in here can actually move around. They all spin nice and freely, which is, yes, this one feels really good. Ready to go back in. Let's take a look at this hub. Let's kind of see if I can show you what we got going on. Okay, so it's really hard to see, but right down there at the bottom of this bearing cup, there's something right there, right where the bearing is kind of going to roll at the top. And as you roll your finger around it, it's a rough little spot right there. So what we're going to do, I have kind of a piece of like 320 grit sandpaper, something really light. And we're going to see that spot, and it looks like it's in the metal. It's not like junk or anything there. What we're going to do, we're going to get that in there. We're just going to kind of nicely kind of sand that until it's gone, which it pretty much is, which is perfect. That's what we want to happen. Okay. There we go. Okay, and once we have that gone, we're just going to go ahead and get our degreaser again, make sure that's clean. And we're just going to run our finger around it again to make sure it's all good. Oh yeah, there we go. We got it. That's much better. All right. That's looking really good. I'm happy with that. All right, so it's now time to put this thing back together. So we're gonna grab our grease here, and we're just gonna put some grease inside of the cups on the hub first. So we're just gonna kind of lay some grease right inside there on both sides. That's gonna give those bearings a nice spot just to kind of sit in to start off with, just like that. Perfect, so you can see a little bit of grease in both of those. Then we can grab our bearings. Our bearings, we're gonna pack some grease into them. So this is why I like using a brush to put this on, is you can kind of get it inside all the little nooks and crannies on the bearing cage. These aren't very big, these are pretty small in the grand scheme of things. Just like that, there's our first bearing loaded up. All right, so your bearings are gonna go in just like that. So pretty much the ball bearings are gonna be what's touching into the hub of the wheel. Then once you have that in there, you can just place that in there. We're just gonna go ahead and slide our axle back through, and that's gonna hold that one side in. From there, we can kind of set this up here, and that'll hold itself just like that. And then we can get our second bearing and get that one greased up as well, ready to throw in there. And that'll get that all looking good. And then same deal, get our bearing and just kind of slide that down the axle right where it should be. So, got that all in there. Then we can get our cone nut that we took off. Cone nut's gonna go right on the top, and we're gonna throw that and spin that down as far as we can get it. That's what's gonna help hold this axle together while we get the lock nut on. There we go. Okay, so our cone nut's kind of all the way on there. We'll go grab our lock nut now and spin that on there as well. There we are. Perfect. All right, go ahead and kind of wipe some grease off here. Nice and clean all throughout. So then we're gonna go hit to the side that we just tightened. So what we wanna do, we wanna get this tight enough that there's no play. So right now I can sit here and I can move the axle a little bit. So what we're gonna grab our cone wrench and we're gonna tighten our cone nut up just a hair. And that should get us to the point where we should be able to do this and nothing happens there. Perfect. So now what we're gonna do, we're pretty much going to tighten these guys up against each other. So the outside lock nut, we're gonna be tightening. The inside lock nut, or the inside cone nut, we're gonna be kind of loosening to tighten these guys up together. And that's gonna help lock this hub and our adjustments into place there. You have to lock down nice and tight. And then what we're looking to see is that it spins freely. So right now that might be a hair tight. What you can do, you can hold the axles right here, spin it, and it should feel nice and smooth going around. Right now it feels a little tight. I can kind of feel it catching a little bit as it goes around. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna come back here, we're gonna loosen this up. There we go, and we're just gonna loosen our cone nut up just a hair, and then retighten this guy back down. And again, we quick check, make sure it doesn't move back and forth, make sure it feels tight there, and then we can do our spin test. And that's actually feeling pretty good. Once you have that all set, we're just gonna pop on our nuts or our quick release. You can put that back on, and then you're set to reinstall this on your bike. Let's move on to the rear wheel. All right, so onto the rear wheel. So the rear wheel, you can definitely tell now that it has a movement. You can hear that, that's the axle moving. So it actually has some play in the rear axle. So what's different about the rear axle is this side is covered up, the lock nut and the cone nut are both covered up by a little freewheel here. And on this side, our lock nut's available, but it is either A, too far in, or B, not accessible from this side to actually get the cone nut off. It is kind of hidden under the lip of the hub, and so you cannot get to it from that side. So what we have to do on this side, we actually have to take off our freewheel here. Once we take that off, we should have access to our cone nuts from there. So just like that, we gotta get this guy off. So for what you get your freewheel tool you need, I'm gonna put that in there, and then we need a big wrench, and we're just gonna try and pop this guy off of there. All right, so we got the freewheel off, and now you can see we have full access to this whole one there. You can see the lock nut and the cone nut right behind it. That is kind of a common thing with bikes with freewheels, that sometimes you do have to take off the freewheel. So sometimes you gotta do that. So in this case, our lock nut here is gigantic because we have a gigantic axle. So I'm just gonna use kind of an adjustable wrench here, and then we're gonna figure out what size our lock nut is. It's a 19. All right. And we just need to do kind of the same deal. So hold them both here. Oh, got it. All right. Really gotta get this off. There we go. Got it. It was on there, man. Woo! Okay. Then after that, it's just kind of the same process as the front one. Okay. Oh, okay. So this thing has loose bearings in the rear. So this is kind of where I was talking about. You need to be careful when you pull this apart because the bearings will just go everywhere. Okay. We are, I think, missing a ton of bearings. I think we are. Okay, so... Man, I didn't think they were loose on the rear. I thought we were going to get lucky. Like the one on the front. These are all loose ball bearings. So this is a totally different story on the rear. So we're going to attempt to save as many of these as we can. How many? No idea. So in the same process, we're going to clean up everything separate, and then we'll start taking a look at the bearings and see what we're even missing in there. Okay, so got everything cleaned up. I can guarantee this is the first time this hub has been apart since this bike was new. So what we're gonna do, it has a bunch of nicks and scratches and scuffs all over this thing. So we're gonna take our sandpaper, and we're kind of gonna go and try and knock it off as best as we can. All right, got them both looking good. So this side I end up using a little a Dremel with a little sanding wheel or a sanding drum on there to clean it, to get it smooth, because it was such a big, something happened on this side. I don't know what, but yeah, I cleaned up, looking as good as I could. It looks much better now. So that looks good. Let's look at our bearings, see how many we actually have. So like I said, I'm pretty sure we're missing some. So we got 2, 3, 30, 33. Ah, crap. I have no idea. Man, there's supposed to be 36. If I had to take a wild guess. So we're going to replace all our bearings today with brand new bearings because I have them. Why not? So I bought this whole bearing kit. I'll link to this. But it pretty much has all the standard size bearings you would want in one kit. So what we're going to do, we need to load the non-drive side first. Load that first. That way we can put this axle back through, and then that'll hold them in place while we flip it over and do the other side. So we're going to grab some grease. And with these, it is very important you put a decent amount of grease in the hub, because that's what's going to help those bearings stick in there. Okay, let's see how this goes. 1/8 inch. So you could totally reuse your old bearings if you wanted to. In our case, we're missing some. So I don't know how many I'm missing. I think I'm missing, what I say, we're at 33 or something. So we're probably missing 3 of our original bearings. But we're just gonna do them all new. That way they're all matching. If I don't lose my mind before I get them all in there. You can also buy these bearings like at Ace. Probably Home Depot has them too. I don't know. I always go to Ace for my bearings, so they probably sell them there. All right, got those all in there. We're gonna throw a little bit of grease right along this lip where this is going to sit, just to try and get these a little bit more greased all the way through. There we go. All right, just like that, and then to throw our axle through very, 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 very carefully. So you're gonna knock a bearing. Okay. Flip her around. Set her down, just like that, and then we just got to load her up on the other side. Same process. This is a little easier because you can't really drop them down the hub because now it's covered. All right, we're finally full on both sides. So we're gonna get our cone nut for this side, and we're gonna just start threading it on. And we're gonna be very careful not to push on our axle to make the bearings on the other side fall out. And once we get close, we'll go ahead and throw some grease on the bottom of this guy and then tighten her up against the bearings. All right, they should all be locked in there now. Perfect, heck yeah. All right, woo! Got them all locked in there. So we're just gonna kind of clean up our cone nut, make sure it's not all greasy. All right, we're almost there. So the same thing, we want the side with kind of the rough edges here to be towards where the dropout's gonna be. Get this guy started on there. And then we just need to go kind of through that same process of getting this thing tightened up. Oh my gosh. Okay. We're going to get these broken in just a hair too. Yeah, let's try right there. So, 19. Our adjustable wrench. See if we can get this. Maybe first try. That would make my life easier. Alright, got it adjusted where I'm pretty happy with it. It's kind of between too tight and too loose, kind of where I want it. And I'm pretty happy with how that spins. It spins nice and smooth. No real noises. It spins a whole lot better than it did. So I'm happy with that. We just need to throw our freewheel back on here, put our nuts on the end of the axles to hold of course the wheel onto the bike. And I think at that point we are ready to go, ready to get ripping on this bike. All right, and that's how you go ahead and get your hubs adjusted on your bike. Once you have them adjusted, you just bolt them right back up, whether that way with the bolt-on axles here or quick release, whatever you have, and you're set to go from that point. Wheels are nice and adjusted. Once they're on the bike, you can always double check. You just grab the wheel, try and move it back and forth. In this case, those both feel great. You can always spin them. Make sure they spin nice and well, and they do. They spin great, and you're all set to go. You're set to ride that bike, and you should be able to go quite a while on those bearings, especially those rear ones we just did. Those ones should be good for a good long time. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up. Appreciate the support. Any comments or questions, let me know down in the comment section below. Love talking to you guys. Love answering questions you guys have. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching today.